Please listen to the Dharma teachings by adjusting your motivation and your conduct by thinking to yourself, I must achieve the precious state of peerless, complete, great enlightenment for the sake of all the mother sentient beings who are equal to the extent of space by any means. For that reason, I'm going to listen to these teachings. And as for the Dharma which you're going to be listening to, it's a brief explanation of the stages of the path to enlightenment, and where we have reached in that explanation is the explanation of the karma and its results.
The stage path to enlightenment, that which is the only one light of the three realms.
Reda, dela, renabul, reda lenam demba, dela ni joyaji, tinogada, luji somde, rosaji, tadanda, rengagi, or that tin somde shuji.
Then we've already listened to an explanation of the three negative karmic paths of the body, and now we're going to listen to the three negative karmic paths of the speech.
But that, Tonga, Tuba, Chiracheba, Namrishiba, Sheta, Tele Doba, Shete, Imberta, Kon Maja, Maju, Shete Lata, Tanda Tele Doba Shete Jeji. Takona Masi Yote, Kuji Yone, Parabo, Rone, Yutataba, Parabo Yemba, Teo Tongo, Atlantico Areza.
So if you look at page 222 where it says number 4, lying. So first of all, lying is discussed in terms of of the basis. So it mentions here 4 points. So that which has been seen, that which has been heard, that which is specifics that have been distinguished, and then that which is known, and then the opposite of those 4. So those are the basis for lying, and also it mentions that also within the basis the other person that the lie is being told to has to understand the meaning of the lie that you've said to them.
Cheta Chebasaya de Nada Che, Lu, Desum Je, Yamsumati, number Shivasi, Yiji number Shibi, Shiva. That tells Doba, Mantonga, Matuba, Cheta Majiba, number Majibasi.
Where it says that which is seen, that means that which has been seen by the eye consciousness, been perceived by the eye consciousness. The heard, that means that which has been heard by the ear consciousness. Where it says specifics that have been distinguished, that's talking about the objects which have been experienced by the nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. And then when it says that which is known, that's talking about the objects which have been that are known by the mental consciousness. So then the other four would be the opposite of those, so that which has not been seen and not been heard and so forth.
Imrita, jeje, ane samba la somne, dushine, tonga na mantonga juwa, mantonga na tonga dushi juwa so. Zanda, zindu maa se yate, dushi jo ne magi yaji. Tan dushi jo se yate, tagi kondo, se yake, tonga na mantonga dushi juwa do. Yon mantonga na tonga dushi juwa so.
Then when we look at the attitude, the second part after the base is the attitude. Within that, as before, we have the three parts. So first of all, we look at the perception or the recognition. So it mentions in the explanation there that it talks about the English term that's been used here, misrepresenting, which is quite a good term actually, because what this means is, like, for example, what you've seen, you misrepresent or distort as having as into a perception of having not seen, or the opposite. When you have not seen something, then you misrepresent that as a perception of having seen it, and so forth, and so on with the hearing and the what was it? The distinguishing, the specifics that have been distinguished, and so on.
Libertà, nyomone, tosom konochi, ta, doja che don demo, doja jo ge, reta parpo, go kon, endo che jo chimawa. Da che don go ge yo, no che tende yo yaji. Imbare, luci jo de ma doba, ko somo ji, nyomone somo, ko non luci jo de ma doba was. Ta luci jo se da, ta ki kon de somo no ji. A toa ma toa se, la ye de luci jo ro yo ro. Ta de gemono ya ge so ro, de ne ge che de luci jo ne me wa ye na yo, de zui cha ro yo.
Then, when we look at the mental affliction, what does it say? The affliction. Yeah, the affliction. This can be any of the three afflictions: attachment, anger, or ignorance. So one might lie, tell a lie out of attachment, wanting to trick a person, and then, for example, or it could be due to anger, for example. In either case, one might have seen something, and then one distorts the perception of that into having not seen it. So when you've seen something, you say you haven't seen it, and also likewise with having not seen something, saying that you have seen it, so you're distorting that or misrepresenting that.
In verdad, temo che con il nome ren deciso da mama se ya dan den ne rizi ge jong den le re ansa ne jabo ta mo gawa che ya ta ne pa ma ne ya so no da ne so da pa bim ka ta ni la zema na de zema na ni ba yo ma res ne tende yo ai mar da te che semar so ne zeme wa ye na temo ko ma cha ro.
Then as for killing due to the affliction of ignorance, then in the Vedas, these Hindu certain Hindu texts, they say that it's acceptable that there's no fault in lying in order to please a king, or if your life is at stake. And then I think she was saying to take a in order to take a wife when you want to get married, to tell a lie in that case. No.
이 말, 다 좋아. 좋아네, 마와, 짱 마마에 돈들는 밤, 뇌주변 세미 동바고. 그러다 로게 나만에 드시죠데 주마와지. 요, 짱 마마에 돈들는 밤. 그러다 옛날에 소소가 그러다 저 전주에서 만나세요. 그래서 남나 근데 듯이 조지네. 정말 마치 인동도시 되어있나 그다데 제자로 요래서 나 뇌주변 세미도 뭐 다 된대래 말해서 지체인도 뇌진 남주 동치네. 임바다 말해놓는다로 마임바다 레놓는다 된대 제비나 대용주 자로 요래서.
Then for the action, this can be the line can be carried out. The lie can be told either by actually saying saying the lie, like saying you've seen something when you haven't seen anything. In this case, if there's a distortion of the perception or misrepresentation of the perception. Also, you can tell a lie without actually saying anything, without saying anything at all. This would be like, for example, somebody might say to you that you look like a bodhisattva, and then without saying anything, just by
that you are bodhisattva.
No, that you are saying that you are a bodhisattva, and then by way of not saying anything, you sort of give the impression to the person that you are a bodhisattva. In this case, in which case you have distorted the perception, distorted the recognition, and likewise, one might tell a lie by not saying anything, but by somehow using some sort of physical gesture, some bodily gesture, to indicate the opposite of the truth. So in this case also there's been this distortion.
이 말에 대요. 구바 롱나 제제도 전자식이 체든 매장 저어서서 이 말에 제 마야데 제제도 한데요. 매바이나요. 제자로 요래. 네. 근데 준지실라 나왔다 매서 단체계네 단다 세야지 세자의 주로요지 저게 대용도나 네 이런 통 되는 로고가 통하지 생견되게 통중에서 제용도 다들 소자비 체도 통마교서 나와이나 연재 통으로 연재 통으로에 이나요 그 수차로요 and that
then in terms of the purpose, whether the lie is spoken for oneself or for the sake of others, either way it's still a lie. There is no permission given, special sort of permission given under certain circumstances to lie. Like, for example, somebody might come along. You might have seen somebody going by, and then somebody else comes along, and they have the intention to kill that person. So they ask, "Have you seen them?" So actually, you've seen them. So now, in order to protect their life, you might say, "I didn't see them." But still, that would be a lie, and it would be it would sort of like not be correct to do, not be allowed to do.
그러다 소주보다는 소주지 예세인도 다 총, 그렇지. 샤주제야서는 근데 총자주야, 근데 놓아요. 대요가 가르쳐나 그게 현대의 펜도용만 해봐라. 펜도용만 해봐인데, 근데 총, 그래 자우자, 근데 그게 샤고나 주야 될라 놓아요. 대는 펜매벤데 시기가 그래서. 근데 다기들 주인지 매바이나 되는 로마 선서 매바이나 아코라 펜토마도 네바요 말레스 너 펜마도 네바 매바이는 만 주메스 될라 노마메 주인의 소중이 드라메스 선다
So this is different from the case of killing. So there are certain cases where, in order to save the life of another, then you kill.
Operation.
In case of an operation.
Yeah, in case of operation, but you definitely see it as a benefit. So therefore, that's so that's okay. But here the telling lie is different from that.
But the person gets.
Here is not sure if you tell lies, not sure whether it's beneficial or not.
So this is nothing to do with killing.
Just saying that, in the case of operation, a person is going to be cut up in the operation. You have definite knowledge
That it's going to help.
It's going to help.
Yes.
In the case
Of lying, then you're not sure. Yeah.
telling of a lie, saying that just to save the person's life, you say, "Oh, I didn't see." You have no guarantee
This is going to benefit them.
this
Yeah.
lie is going to benefit. So
But in the case, this was operation, right? Not killing the person. Or did I miss- just an operation. Okay.
You're hurting, but
Okay.
you have definite
Yeah.
guarantee it's going to benefit.
Okay. So in the case of it wasn't a case of killing. It was a case of making an operation. So in that case, where you've just repeat this so that you can, in case you didn't hear clearly what Anila was saying. In the case of like an operation where you know that something is that this operation is going to benefit the person, so then there is special permission, like it's acceptable to do that. But in the case of telling the lie, like in the example that was explained, you can't really be sure that by saying that it would be that it would benefit the person. So therefore, it's different, and therefore it's not. There's no sort of special case for that, no special permission for that.
Also, which you mentioned before, even when you in the form of play, so that you say something that was not true. I just joking. Joking. Yeah. So still, it becomes lie.
But better, say I didn't do no soon, Mamma. That in Rose said, Trombo Shenane, saw the nobody your that take out any carriages and that the Gajan that she tell them much and Jenda to so by John Hackson. Then you might remember to say as no. The rain, that is the part of Jana, and the quite enjoyed that understand La
So in the case that was being explained where you've seen somebody going by and then you're asked by this person who wants to kill them whether you saw them or not, then in that case, instead of lying, since there isn't that special, there's no permission for, it's not allowed to tell a lie in any case. So in that case, you would say something like sort of irrelevant, just that like something, I've got something to do today, I've got something to do later, or something like that. And in that case, somehow that would like distract the person.
Well, it's good. It's good why there was say something else. Distract the person's mind, so then the person will leave. What the Rinpoche before, so even saying things which are not true, even joking, but even though it does not change the other person's recognition, it's known, but even just apply it, but it's
there's no tomato, Sismoson, Giovanna, there's some Jova song shame, there's a son, that condo, Duba, there's a young and the Luval, there's on him, but Luval, Papa Tome, can they be Luva? There's no tomato, Sismosomna, Jova Lion, there's some Jova song shames. That's the number six of wrong me back home. Jena, Machu. Jena George in the two Machu by Nayo, Julian Jugues, and the Dubanio sound those. Those under the Retam Loboniak, those under the ngage shikala jobe lenam de juwa sheto imbarita zindama tsiso ngaja la yo jobe lenam de juwa so imbar.
I'm afraid the sound was a bit coming through a bit strange, so I didn't catch it. I didn't catch that. Did you hear that? I didn't hear any of it. Did you
there's the Tamatsu Sona, Jova, there's some Zintamatsu and Jova song jazz, Sayate, Papa Tomegan Zebe, Duat, Imbare, Duale, Zintamatsu song, Yen Juch, Yen Lapjuch, Suzuma, Yen Lapjuna Yinayo, Ronila, Tilena Muji, song jazz. And those under the Jayana, Shigalot.
So then there's relying upon the text Dua, this companion by Asanga. It mentions there that in the case of lying and also this divisive speech, or is called slander in the text, and harsh speech, then it also would be like if you get somebody else to tell the lie or to commit this to say this divisive speech or harsh speech, then you yourself would also get the actual sort of body of the negative karma, respective negative karmas of lying and so on. But then in the root. The root Abhidhamma Kosha text and its commentaries, of the auto commentary, then it says that in the case of all four of the negative karmas of speech, not just those three of lying, divisive speech, and harsh speech, but also this idle gossip or senseless speech, as it's called here. In the case of all four, if you get somebody else to do it, then you yourself would get the actual main body of that negative. Speech, negative karma of speech.
Tandi Mugajoga Lenam Zoma, the she they are the Ninja magic. Lovali Toma Jebasoma Teda, Tandi Lenam Zoma, the singing dramatis.
Then in the Vinaya, it's mentioned here now towards the bottom of page 122. So in the Vinaya, it teaches that in order to get the complete, the sort of the final downfall, the complete downfall of those, the kill, what do you call it, the lying and so forth, then you yourself have to do it has to be you that says the lie. It actually has to be you that does it. But there the distinction is being made in terms of whether you get the actual body of the negative karma or not.
Tatune Parubu Kawayinde Magona Sijabasam and Ruan Zondili Shetos. The Zunja Lenam Zoba. Then Tartu Della maybe on the Parubu Kawachi Gogris, Parubu Ko, and Parubu Kone, and Rona Lenam Zoyachi. Parubu Magovina, that's a Jabazam, Najar, the Rogres. They on Loboyeg Zondili Shetos.
Then, as for the completion, now for the completion here, in order to get this the actual body of this this negative karma of the lying, then the other person should understand what you said to them. They should understand the lie, and in the case of of them understanding it, then you get the actual body of the negative karma of lying. In in case they don't understand, then what you said would simply count as this senseless speech. And that's also explained in Vasubandhu's text. I didn't get the name of the text. This is also in the auto commentary to the Abhidhamma Kosha.
Simjen Tumbado Mendimba, Tamamasaki, Jete, Simjen Tumbado Mendimba, and Namso. The Simjen Tumba, that Tamas, Pasala Yenjuya, that Tamas Yorwa, and then Tumba Mendiba Jayaki, Yenjua, Mendiba, John Renderoya, Yenjua, at the day of Yendu, Jete, Tumbado Mendimba, Reason.
Then going on to divisive speech at the top of page 223. Now for the basis there, the basis can be sentient beings that are sort of in agreement or harmonious. It can also be those which are not harmonious. So this divisive speech is to do with like dividing people. So it's sort of like putting people, making people apart, keeping people apart, and so divisive speech, if it makes those who are sentient beings who are harmonious or in agreement, sort of like unharmonious, apart from each other in that way, or if you prevent those sentient beings who are unharmonious or not in agreement with each other from sort of reconciling, then in either case that would be a case of this divisive speech.
Who are not harmonious, but then you make it more distant, more disharmonious.
Making them more
so those who are harmonious, making it disharmonious, and already harmonious, but making
more harmonious. Yes. Less harmonious, I mean,
yes. Sambala, somnes, ta sambadela, dushi nyomo kono se huyaji. Then dushi se yade. Dushi the Yomon and Arjin knows ya. In the Dangar and the Tela Ten Dushi Basia, that is a good. That's some gentleman, Tela, and to my man Dushi Yachi, and the Payevici, Mayat. Mendubayana, Menduban Dushi Vata, Tela Ten Dushi Basia in Mare. And Yomon and Arjin knows it, Yomon de la Tusum. Dushi to Mosunga Yores.
Then, looking at the attitude, this again has the three parts, which are the recognition, the affliction, and the motivation. So it says in the text that with the recognition, it's just like before. So what that's referring to is sort of knowing, in a sense, knowing it as it is, or knowing that as that. So what that actually means is that in this case, if those sentient beings are harmonious, then or in agreement, then you know that they're harmonious, and you're going to say something to make them unharmonious. And likewise, in the case of those sentient beings which are unharmonious, knowing that they're unharmonious or not in agreement, and then you have the intention to say something which is going to drive them further apart. Then in the for the motivation, then in the case of of sentient beings which are harmonious, then your motivation would be by way of your divisive words to make them disharmonious, to separate them. And in the case where they're harmonious, then either to prevent them, prevent a reconciliation. So your divisive words are aimed at preventing a reconciliation or at driving them further apart.
Dembada Medembi Honyo Rumi, Jojani Mini, Konron Jobata. Gubaranji Konron is in the Mawa was. In the top, Chamamayu, Maju Shete, Demba Yinayo, and the Nibayo Yoji, then Medemba Yina, the Nibayo. And it's say about Joso, Niemene, repeat. Niemojin the Shenandra. That's it. So much in the Menema in the Sheva in Andra, Chea Maris, and then Gubateon, wrong a che the Tramajo, change the Tramajo, Chea Maris.
Then, when we look at the action, so here it's explained that when you sort of utter or when you speak your divisive words, then whether the basis of what you're saying is true or not, it's the same. If you're saying something that's true, you'd get this negative karma of divisive speech, even if what you're saying is untrue. Either case, whether it's true or untrue. Also, whether it's something pleasant, like or said pleasantly, whether you say it in a sort of pleasant way or whether you say it in a very harsh way. Either way, you would be getting, there's no difference, you would still be getting this divisive speech, negative karma of divisive speech. And in terms of the purpose, whether it's for yourself or for others, it doesn't make any difference. Either way, you would be getting this negative karma of divisive speech.
Pardu, Dovale, Tane, Yeverchave, number Rubacha, she is on the Jebi Simi Bakos. Number Yever Chavi. Number of Bachos. In the Tate Jebi, Eva Chavi, Sete, Parubukoa, Remato, Della Yeto, Yamara, Zunayon, the tomato dragiore, Del Tamanayo, Yetomato, Chemere. Then Jebi, Sete, Parubukoa, Tartu.
So then for the completion or the culmination, the term they use here in the text, for the completion then of following the explanation in the Compendium of Determinations, then the completion comes when the other person understands your words. It's not a question of whether you were successful in being able to divide the people, or to these harmonious people who are harmonious, or drive those who are unharmonious further apart, or whatever. Like also in the case of lying and I can't remember if it's lying. Also, just lying. In the case of lying, for those two, okay, yeah. For in the case of lying and in the case of divisive speech, in those two cases, it's not a question of whether you're successful in what you do. It's in your aim, in achieving, what you set out to do. It's a question of whether the person heard or not. The other person heard, not heard, understood or not. Yes.
Kunne narsim jivi jejuvi semje nos. Rida kunne narsim jivi jekko seya tende song yoro tende yamare.
Then in the with the harsh speech, again we start off by looking at the basis, and in this case the basis is described as the what's referred to as the nine. The sort of like the nine bases for thorough hostility, and here it's mentioned here the base of offensive speech is a living being in whom you can engender hostility. It doesn't mention about nine, but anyway, this, in the Tibetan text it mentions nine beings against whom one can have this feeling of hostility.
Reda, kunna se jive shegwase na ngarona no bacheba. Yona tanta no bachejimba. Yona mawamba na toba yodani, Japan juve toba yodani, somchi. Dano je range chola ngar no bacheba, tata no bachejima, mawamba na Japan juve toba yoda, somchi ne cho. Da range jala ngar pen daba. Yon tanda pen dojimba. Mawamba na dobi toba yoba. Somchi ne, dije kuni nasi jawi shikku siya sumbari tat teta bala ane meba yina imari ane tsuwa juyo lina.
So where it says the 9 bases for generating thorough hostility, these are like 3 groups of 3. So you've got the first 3 are regarding oneself, where where somebody has harmed you in the past, somebody who is harming you now, or you have some sort of suspicion that they might harm you in the future. You're thinking that maybe they're going to harm me in the future. So there would be those 3. Then, with regard to one's friends, then towards a person that has harmed one's friend or friends in the past, or is harming them right now, or you think might, or you have some sort of suspicion that they might harm them in the future. And so there are those 3. That makes 6. Then, in the case of with regard to one's enemies, so somebody who has benefited, someone who has helped one's enemies or enemy in the past, is helping them now, or that one suspects might help them in the future. So you have another 3, and that's how you get the 9. So when offensive speech or harsh speech is carried out, it would be against any of those 9. So when your harsh speech is against any of those 9, then when we talk about having this negative karma of offensive speech. Then with the attitude, there are 3 parts to this, as before. The base of the 3 aspects of the category of attitude, perception, and reflections are as before, it says in the text. What that means when it says as before, with the perception. The first one, the perception, or the recognition, discernment. So it would be as before, recognizing that as that, literally. So then with the affliction, then it can be any of the 3 afflictions of attachment.
The object and then the words that you express, the recognition of those. The
recognition of the words, yes, and the object yes, to whom you're expressing them.
Yes.
No. Then with the afflictions, that can be, as before, any of the 3 root, the poisonous minds. And then with the motivation, then it is that would be the wish to speak or to utter these harsh words. No. Then, when we talk about harsh speech, it doesn't exactly mean that it's just saying some bad words, because the main aim of the harsh speech is to hurt the person right in the heart, sort of like strike at the heart of the person, to harm them like that. So whether or not you speak your words very gently, or whether you speak harshly, or whether the words are sort of gentle words or harsh words, the point is that you're saying them in order to harm the person in that way, to hurt the person in that way. Yes. And so it's in that way that it would become harsh speech. Yes.
dēme dē kōngyō rōmi rē sēk tsūpō mā yōndū mā jū tāngdē pārō bāda chōng yōdē yō nā yō rē tā dēm pārwa yinā yō rē sēk tsūpō nīpa yō yō chē tā mē dēm bāji yinā yō gārwa yinā dēme dē kōngyō rōmi rē sām lū jī chōng nē jāwā rē tā rē rū tōmē shiratse dewe kapte badani chong rekdu jare, maari resena hiwa pono ya, tende yoyendu reki chong. Da luji chong, mei shawanda jina, shako se ya sono. Imara. Da luji chong de jawang, tsuchim sam. Reda rabdi chong no tende tsuchim, chong tsuchim nyam song se ya sono, tsuchim chong. Kunjo ji chong de zamde, kunjo dan rodong dodong den tsale japje ji lawa yena kunjo ji chong zamde menye ba ma ba o.
Then with the action, whether or not the words which are spoken are true, it can still become offensive speech. What you're saying might be true, but it could be offensive. Or what you're saying, of course, if it's untrue, it can also be offensive. So then what you're saying might be in terms of like disparaging the person's caste, actually saying to them, you're of a low caste or of a low social status, saying that to them to harm them, or like somehow insulting them in terms of their physical state. If they're blind, then telling you, saying you're blind or something like that. Or if it's somebody who has received the renunciate vows and criticize them, or saying something like your morality has degenerated. You've broken your vows. Your morality is degenerated. Or in terms of like insulting somebody for the way that they behave, the way that they conduct themselves, saying that they're behaving badly. So any of these could count as being the action here.
Duale tane tela ngatubo meba o shisum yuton kana mebe yorti kowa guban zondile sheto. Imberta duale tende ngatubo meba se ya tende je yorete ta meba zamji chuyo maris. Da parobo kona meba yorti ton kogu yore. Imberta ton kowa tiji tatu.
Then in the it says for the completion. That the compendium says that talks about the end is speaking in an offensive manner to that person, but actually that's not enough. Just speaking the words is not enough. The person has to understand the words to have the completion. This sort of this part of the we have the basis, the action, the basis, the attitude, action, and completion. So to have the completion. It's not enough just to say the words, that you've said the words. The person has to understand what you've said to them. Then for the senseless speech, what we often call the idle gossip, the base of senseless speech is speech about a topic that is not meaningful. So in this case, it doesn't have to be something which is understandable. In the case of senseless speech, it doesn't have to be something which is sort of something which is actual, understandable. No.
다 삼바다 섬네 두시네 대라 텐두시 바오 시바 섬네 마송조 내네 조도베 동타니라 텐두시네 마이데 내가 고지요 무급이 셔로 얘들다 대라 텐두시 바세야 다기 제 참마 츠츠소나 고마주 동데라 텐두시 바 고마시 제데라 텐두시 바 고요지 나가자 생데 고지요 고요 말에 인도 고지요라 된듯이 봐서 제야매가지 인자 조주 통한데라 된듯이 봐서 다 된듯이 이 말이다.
In the when we look at the recognition with the senseless speech, then there's no need to sort of to have this point that, like we had before with the other three of lying, divisive speech, and offensive speech, where you have to have a recognition of that as that. In this case, it's different. So here, because in this case, since the what you're saying doesn't have to make any sense, then you don't have to have that recognition with respect to the actual sort of meaning of what's being said. But there does need to be some recognition in terms of correct recognition in terms of the basis.
아니다. 녀몬에서 뭐 거는 거 두서 거는지 거는네 만들비 준절마가 넣어봐고 그러다 그게자로 시제고 있는데 그때 좀세 삼노도 돈다 삼노도 내반 들어가지네 라기로 이제 단단데 좀세 마사면 되가세 중절 거든데서로 시제자인데 중절제 말이야. 대형은 아무튼 들어가다 삼노마도 만들비 준절마가 넣어봐고
Then with the pneumon, the with the affliction, which would be any of the three, what do you call it, attachment, anger, and ignorance. So here there is simply the. No, actually, I didn't get this. The wish. Anyway, there's the wish to there's not particularly the wish to just sort of like be friendly with somebody and so forth, but just to speak. You just have this wish to speak without having any particular regard for whether there's any sort of relevance or connection between the former and later words and so on. Just to sort of the wish to speak nonsense.
저거는 아저 마바 좀 보고 다도는 아저 매서 보고 이 말다 저와 마비체도 좀 봐지. 다도는 내가 고지요 먹어 있는데 가능해가 되가 아닌 아저 자루야지.
For the action, then that is simply commencing to say what you have to say, and then for the completion, since there's no need for the person to there's no need for the person to understand what you've said. So the completion is just having said those words. There's no need for the person to have the other person to have understood.
이 말. 나 고마지 돈데 대형 이제도 있는데 맞대. 맞다 이제도 못 가르쳐 내니마 아포하잖아요 요다데 말에. 탐모도. 그러다 탐모. 점리 잡아서도. 손으로 종손으로 봐. 근데 가서 자야. 제바마 연지 제바서도. 엄마와서. 대지 말에 제바마 와서.
Then for the, it mentions here 7 bases of this senseless speech. So starting at the bottom of 223, it says it goes through these 7 one by one. So speaking of fighting, fault finding, disputes, and divisions. That's all one. That's all one, right?
In that you may then Cherubi Tenjusam, Yona, transition ala, Gavi Lu, Lombo Bato, Katonjeba Sodos. Imerda, Cherubi Tenji transition at Tendela, Sem Dene, Gawa Yodachi, Tigone, Lomboba, Katonjeba, Katonje, my George Division. Long boss and long share.
And then this second one is it's a non-dharma. So it mentions his speech as a transmitting and reciting text with a mind that delights in the treatises non-Buddhist or in the Mantra of Brahmin. So when it says a mind that delights in those treatises and so on, this means like having a very deep liking for for those things, for those texts and so on. And then when it says transmitting, so actually this would refer to giving transmissions of those texts. And then, in fact, yes, the English is very clear.
With the thought that, like the Brahmas, the sacred mantras.
With that sense of a deep like for those mantras and treatises, then transmitting them and also reciting them. Yes.
도약의 체도 근데 대로야 그래 대가야의 체도는 니마 체제 봐도 로초야 근데 너무 요요.
Then this means that we're not permitted to read those the Chitika or the sort of these the texts of the non-Buddhist heretics. You're not allowed to read them because you like to read them out of enjoyment of reading them. But when your aim of reading them is to understand their misconceptions, so that you'll be able to disprove or refute those misconceptions, those wrong beliefs, then there is permission for one to read such texts. And then it says expressions of helplessness such as wailing in English. So here, this is talking about, like, for example, if you're experiencing some strong illness, some severe illness, then sort of wailing out of, crying out in pain, wailing with pain. That would be the third one. Yes. Then speech or speaking, it says he's speaking of laughter, play, entertainment, or enjoyment. So it means like well, anyway, out of sort of like enjoyment, just out of your own pleasure, out of for your own enjoyment, then laughing, playing, and this, as it says, entertainment or enjoyment. Yes.
Jaboda, Lomboda, Yorda, Kumbutamna Sobi, the Dinam Tamatos. And that the Jagar chain do Kavandu Season of the Nishedina, go Tonda Meverva. In the day, Dunzitam say there is.
Then the fifth one talks about, it says the commotion, so this would do like sort of like social gatherings, that kind of thing. So the kind of conversation which takes place about like where the king and so forth, the various persons have gone, where they're coming and going and so on. So that kind of thing which is pointless to talk about, this would be included under the fifth one.
Imberta, Tedangachi, Radubado, Yuvatavo Mavas, Rebege, Najamay Dukona, and Numbilendos, Nyotivson. Yona Rase de Sono, Tendezin, Mevayena, Raruato, Yuvatavo Mavas.
Then the sixth one, speaking like a drunkard or lunatic. So, for example, when if you've been drinking and then so you become intoxicated and sort of speaking all sorts of things, sort of speaking senselessly. In that case, that would be included under number 6.
Rida 로빈 소위 마오스 롱조 더 롱조 체더 더 롱조가 이노나 용게 여러 대답을 마와텔라 로빈 소위 마와제.
And then the seventh one is speech which is sort of uttered in order to gain a wrong livelihood. So this would some of this would come up in the five wrong livelihoods.
임바다요 티 데바메바다 추도메덴바다 동도메덴바스 마바네 단 데바메바스 가르잖아 생냠테 만데바도 추도메덴바 가르잖아 고네 뇨모다 뇨모메도 도숨 제야 되시에요 추도메덴바 동도메덴바스나 이게 얘기를 제대다 라면다시야 lula sopada, dugankena sopada, tavitu na mawa.
Then it says disjointed, irreligious, and senseless speech. So disjointed or unconnected speech, so where there is no particular connection between the sort of formal words and later words. There's sort of no such kind of connection. Or when it says irreligious, so speech without dharma, literally speech without dharma. So this means speech which is aimed at producing or generating the three poisonous minds of attachment, anger, and ignorance. And then when it talks about meaningless speech, so that's speech which is just in order to sort of like joke and play around.
동보som 준참만 세소송 나자든 도 면도제 로니 요죠 이제 대som된 나자든 동gen다 면도니 요죠 내는 아마도 동보송서 내려서 내다 도와서 사대 내서 말 소소대서 양거래.
Then there are two different ideas or two different systems about whether the first three negative karmas of speech, the lying, divisive speech, and harsh speech, whether those are also actually this senseless speech. And then it says, so it says there are two systems with regard to the first three. One asserts they are senseless speech and one that they are not. So it says, Jeremiah, however, what I have stated is in line with the former, which is saying that they are. And this is... Rishi was saying this comes from the anyway. He mentioned some text which states that point.
이메르다데 나기 시에지. 다 이제 som게 노게 도만 남심 남심지 전에 남심제야 남심제사기 시 남심제시 전에 옌제 옌제 노르던 요제도 다 이메르 남심제비 제데 옌제 노르던 근데 요제 잘하고서는 근데 제시 제데 되레스.
So that completes the explanation of the four negative karmas of speech. Now we move on to the three negative karma paths of the mind. First of which is covetousness, and there the basis would be the wealth and the things belonging to. Here it says possessions. That's okay. The things belonging to other people, to others.
아래다 삼발라 somle lushine jetela ten lushibawo 그다 남심세데 바로부 노르다 요제 다 간디제 나세제요나 댕알 존나 상바서노 들리스게 여러 인데다 lushine jetela ten lushibawo 그 바로부 노드잘라 가리나 텔라 ten lushi바지고
Then with the attitude, first of all, there's the perception or the discernment, the recognition. That would, again, we have this idea of recognizing with respect to the basis, recognizing that as that. So what it means is that with this covetousness, then it involves seeing some others, the possessions or wealth of another person, and thinking, if only I could have that. So with the basis, with the perception then coming under this heading of the attitude, it would mean perceiving that possession, that wealth and so forth of the other person as being the possessions of the possession of the other. Yes.
Giovanni Sambi Tondela, Zover Chebos. The Tanda Lunga Letavina, Jova Lunga the Tomat and the Yungiorva. So to be Jovachea, Mazim Jovachea, then the Lunga the Toma Yungior. Tande Tanda Yigile, Jova Lunga Toma the Gogiomare. In Giovanni Sambi Tondela, Zover Cheba was. Sambi Ton Parubu Noto Jalanga Jona Sambati. That day Ton Zover Cheba. At the Jona Yona Samba is on one.
Then with the so then we're looking at the affliction, the motivation here. So there's the affliction. So here in the case of the covetousness, so it's a question of looking at something and the possession of others and wanting to possess that, thinking, if only I could have that. So now, in the case of the negative karmas of body and speech, then with the action. So here we're looking at the action. With the action, there's actually something which is visible. There would actually be something which is visible, but here it's a mental karma. A karma of the mind. So here then, in the case of the covetousness, then the action would be, it's described here as... Sorry? No. Visible, not visible. Yeah. So in the case of the actions of body and speech, then when we come to the action, then that something would be visible. It's something that actually comes out in a visible way, something which you can, some sort of physically visible, something which is physically visible. Here, in the case of mental, because this is mental karma, there wouldn't have to be something that you can actually visibly see. So here, with the covetousness, then the action is described as like making, sort of applying effort to that. And what this seems to mean is thinking again and again, I want, if only I could possess that.
She song this, the one on it, the Gajang Yabasi song him. That take her song or sena, Norla Soba, the Dagger Church in Yamba was. Retaki Konon, the Tizukala, Tangala Chona, some was on Royachi. Da Tana Tartu to that young Chego some. And you know, the church is an Tachi is on Chayo, the Richard Tartu to.
Then with the completion, that's where it's described as like where you're definite, or you've sort of like a definite wish to take possession of the thing. So with the motivation, with the motivation, you're thinking, if only I could have that. Here, it's, with the completion, it's become stronger. It's like I've got to have that. I must have that. But and it involves some sort of like decision in your mind that you want that you must have it.
아무래도 남섬 잠다 남섬일에 남조반 세야다 제발 야노 이제 단다 바로 그 나도 논조도 매네 대다게 조르제 냐마제요도 남섬 잠매요 봐 남섬일에 남이 어서 조반나 체중아 총거래서 대라 남섬이 어서 조반나 중아 총거대 다 중아보 가르서나 롱게 논조다 학벌 차비 셈도 된다 제지 다 논조 요와들 차바다는 맞지 논조 소벌도 비 깜짝이 셈도 된다 다 깜세도 차바 체로 침비서 말 차바 휴침보다 깜짝이 셈도 된다 이제 다 현재 놀라서 봐 송보라 용수 또제 로뇽아제 준비 셈도 된다 그게 로는 좋나 삼대야게 현재 놀 zonbotela 또 다들 야본도 우선에 로니와자 근데 준비했어도 된다 현다게 공연마다 나게 조제냐 봐 쿠비스도 된다 남선디 모처와 매지 근데 남선제는 남선디 로는 모처야 매지 다들 님이 될래 예반조하고 될이야 너무 시바 남선지 설제 놓은 셈도 된 바스 이말다 자비 셈도 된바 감자하게 셈도 된바 준비 셈도 된바 쿠비 셈도 된바 세진 놈비 셈도 된 바세야 들리지 나 소고기 어레스 생각하고 고롱이 마소는 나선 신임에서 내랑 연수 접어도 이거 말해서
now in this case then of the covetousness, if you so simply thinking like that, that you know I must have the possession, such and such a possession of another person. So just through that you would get some nyepa or vice, but you wouldn't necessarily, unless you have 5 particular features or attributes present. Here it mentions 5 qualities. There's a list of 5 qualities that are mentioned in the second half of page 224. So it's only when these 5 sort of qualities, anyway, are present that you get the complete karmic path of this covetousness. So it says having a mind that is exceedingly attached to your own resources, so attachment to your own things. And then the second, not just having attachment to your own things, but having it's a mind of it says here a mind of attachment to have the possessions of others. But actually the Tibetan word kamchak here, it means a stronger form of attachment than before. So a sort of a stronger sense of attachment. Then the third one here says in English, having a mind of longing due to comprehending or experiencing the good things of others, their wealth and so on. So it literally talks about due to the tasting, experiencing the taste of that, which means, Rinpoche has explained it as meaning where you're looking at the possessions of others and thinking how good that is. Then the fourth one, having an envious mind, there's a kuisem. So here it's described as having an envious mind, thinking that a strongly envious mind, thinking that whatever is in others should be your own. Then the fifth one is not having any shame or consideration, and not applying the antidote, having a mind that is overcome due to covetousness by shamelessness and obliviousness about so that's the shame and consideration, sort of the restraining from negative actions taking yourself as a reason or taking others as a reason. It's those two sort of mental factors that are being talked about here. And due to that, or in that context, not applying the antidote. So that would be the fifth one. So you'd need to have all five of those complete in order to get the actual body of this karmic path of the negative karma of covetousness. So if any one of those five is missing, then you wouldn't get the complete the karmic path of covetousness.
Just before the goal of the covetousness, so that just simply whenever it becomes definite to be possessed by you, so that's the goal. Also with the thinking about this, that when it's begun to demand, when it's become definite to that you will own, that you will possess that.
힘들다. 단다 예지스 모델라요 조와 송도. 예자 가제노나 다 룽아들라 조와요. 예지스나 조와 매바는 송요. 얘들다 단단데 간르 레세나 먹여와 주가라 남주주비 살에 조와 송소. 인다 단다 사데노게 남주주비 사세요. 대노나 예지스 뭐 어디다 주가라 조와 송만 얘들 예지스 모델라요 조와 단단데 잘노야데 대이 송이.
Then these three, with these three negative karmas of the mind, there are certain who assert that there is no action. You know, when we talk about the basis, attitude, action, and completion, that there isn't an action because of the fact that there's nothing which is visible. But there's nothing visible. But in the following this text, it's mentioned at the bottom of 224 the levels of the yogic deeds. There it says that all 10 of these negative karmas have the action. Also, the action has to be sort of included in all of them. So it's following that this presentation has explained, also covered also these three of the mind as having the action.
이 말이다. 영서 마도베 남세는 주선 제마 침지 기본에 다게 트렌드 조지 진도 버진도 저 제마로 이제 봐. 대부도 좀마 소도 세다서 되지 요새는 되서 말 제마 다 노바 중화도 라도면 좀 리자면 모두도 봐. 동행은 저전에서 봐 신이신다 제마로 이제 봐. 그다 로는 연대노 대서 요한테 이제 싫어져 나서부터 근데 저나요 나서를 소화인 거. 다 달라 잡아도 되거나 코는 이것도 보다 쓰고서 좀더 찌마로 오냐마. 다 돼서 도착해서 차로로 제만 다 참아라 살진에 대한 내용 하나 써봐도 나 좌고도 나오주. 근데 참조긴 주되네. 현주 문제 누가로 오주. 근데지. 전체하지만 되는 제가 조제념도 대체게 일단 가서 내도 대체되는 셈바지 셈에 대체나 냐도 바제바지나 남성들의 송해. 파마도 보도 주마도 되나서 보도 소모주비 요새는 노바지나요 남성서. 이자다 노비 세바 파제 남성 차대서로 된대 송해가 이 말. 단다 대시자전의 소용도.
Then there's if you look at page 225, then there are these examples that are given of the different types of napsen yingendi.
napsen sam. 남생의 내남 조반면 받지. 영수 마조비 남생스.
So this list of six that are mentioned on 225, these are what we might say they are cases of covetousness or mere covetousness, but they're not covetousness where you would get the complete karmic path of covetousness. So if we read them out from the text of thought, how nice it would be if the master of the house were to become my servant, and things could be however I wish them, and so on. So the point is that in order to have the complete covetousness, then you have to have those 4 points of the basis and so on, and also you have to have these 5 qualities, this list of 5 qualities that are mentioned on page 224, bottom of 224. So these 6 examples that are given on page 225 are cases where it is covetousness, but you don't get the complete negative, the complete karmic path of covetousness, because of not having all 5 of those qualities present and so forth.
Desiring the attachment of the desire, most of the attachment of the desire is categorized.
So they would count as that. They would count as instances of what's called the desire realm, grasping, desire realm grasping, and also form realm grasping. No, desire realm grasping. These are instances of desire realm grasping. The sort of grasping is a type of attachment, right? So this is these would be examples of that kind of attachment, that kind of grasping, which is included within the desire realm. Out of the 3 realms, included within the desire realm. Mare?
It's just, generally we say all minds and desire fall into the category of covetous minds.
Yeah.
All minds and desire.
Okay.
There's desirous minds fall into the
Oh, does not the.
desire has nothing to do with ground.
Oh, okay, nothing to do with it. Desire.
Just a desire. Intention to desire.
So it's the
Intention to desire.
intention of desire.
Yeah.
So they're all cases of intention, the intention of desire. No. No.
이말다 치마나 한에서 제가 주제도 노바 제바데 남심으로 이제는 가서 치만 온두고 뭐 줘보고요. 제가 두자대랑 원도동 일이 요리스 원도드지 탑에 주고들이스 소대요. 일단은 원도는 노바제나 남심 차로요나 이제 다 원도드자 제조요 말을 했으나 그래다데 원소 단다 노바제 노자제 오게 된데 뭔가 돈 나서나 우리가 말해 인데 다 연소나제나 메콤빈네리 추드가 봐요 말해 인데 다 추드바나 몬두고 뭐지고 요레스 대체도는 레서 봐지는 거지.
Now, if we think of this, the case of wanting to be born, it mentions here about being born as Vishnu, one of the Vishnu, or as in the heaven of controlling others and so on. So we might think then that wishing to be born in the in our future life to be to be born as a god and so forth, that that would be like a form of attachment, or this covetousness. So the thing is that if we're practicing the Dharma of the person of small scope, then that would generally speaking, we're trying to strive for liberation from psychic existence, all forms of birth in psychic existence. And yet, in the practice of the person of small scope, then we would talk about trying to achieve a birth of high status as a human being or as a god. And in that case, wouldn't that be covetousness? And therefore, isn't it something that we shouldn't generate? So the answer to that is that it would be incorrect to generate the wish to take such a birth simply to enjoy the pleasure of that life in that kind of birth. But on the other hand, if we're born in the lower realms, then being born in the lower realms means that you're born in a place where there is no leisure to practice. So when you aspire for such a birth in order to be able to practice Dharma, then that's acceptable.